Well, of course I'm disappointed because, like I was saying, we see every day at the city level people in distress, people that are worried when it comes to housing and what they're going to do, and also the most vulnerable people of our society that are struggling. And so this is why we've decided this year to come up with only 2 requests, not more, 2, transportation and housing, saying there's 2 crises right now in Montreal. Everything else is really important, culture, you know, like everything is important, the urban planning is important, but there's 2 crises that actually has a big impact on social development, but also economic development in the short term, but also in the long term. We're the metropolis. This is, you know, in terms of everybody's looking at us, it is important so we can have students, investors, workers, families. But then if people don't have a roof on top of their head, they're just going to move out. Students going to go in other universities. It could be other places in Quebec, but other places in Canada, and also, honestly, other places in the world. So this is a huge issue. This is what I've been sharing with the Minister of Finance for many years now, is that we need to see housing as not a charity work. It's not only an expense, it's actually investing in our future for the economic development of Montreal, but also the entire province. Well, I think it is for them to explain why, you know, they decided not to invest more into especially social housing, knowing that there's 24,000 households that are waiting, that the most vulnerable, it could be homeless people, elders with very low revenues. You know, there's so many situations, and even with so that's the social aspect, but for the affordable also, we have big goals in Montreal, and this is what I've shared, that, you know, the entire ecosystem of housing development in Montreal, we are really connected. We know where we want to go, but there has to be more money involved. So I think it is for the government of Quebec to share, to explain why they made that decision. And for me, though I respect their will to invest massively into health and education, which I think is great because it's about thinking for the future, housing should be considered as well as a way to continue in the future, making sure that people have a roof on top of their head. Whatever it's the middle class working and investing, or it's the most vulnerable. We need a roof. And it's not only in Montreal. The housing crisis is everywhere in Quebec. So I think we want to have explanation or what's going to happen. But for us, in 5 minutes, I'm going to be meeting with this tactic team. We want to reproduce what happened in 1993, where the federal government decided not to invest anymore in housing, and everybody got together. And because the housing ecosystem is strong in Montreal right now, we want to benefit from that, from their experience, what they have to say, what will be the next moves politically, but also concretely, based on the experience that we have. I want to be careful. It's not like, oh, no money, so people are going to become homeless. You know, it's not this direct link. All I'm saying is that the needs, we see them in the streets. Everybody says like there's more people in the streets, and it's true. There's more people in the shelters, and combine this with people asking for that are coming from Roxham Road. You know, we've talked about all this. The needs for housing in Montreal is crazy, and when it comes to vulnerable or marginalized communities, it's even worse. So this is where I'm preoccupied, because I know there's going to be other crises. Let's be honest. There's going to be maybe like a campement. What? In camp? Maybe somewhere, or there's going to be more people in shelters, and shelters will ask for more resources from Quebec to make sure that everybody's being fed and there's enough beds. So we see it coming. You know, we went through the pandemic, we've seen and we've documented, and everybody knows that it definitely increased the precarity of a lot of people. And housing is often the last element before maybe you lose everything. So I'm just saying, I'm asking the government to support the City of Montreal, but also other cities, to properly support the most vulnerable, and social housing and Accès Logis. They do their job.